Welcome to Diabolical Souls Presents. It's me, Gooch, your host, and my crew. But before we get into it, I just want to quickly say, if you guys could please, leave a comment, hit that like button. I need you guys to hit that like button.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that like button. And if you could subscribe to not just me, but everyone here, that'd be greatly appreciated. Tonight, we got a really good show. We're doing episode 4, but I don't know. There's something missing here, but I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe everyone loves Magneto. I'm just thinking maybe we should bring the guy that does the voice for Magneto onto the show. What do you guys think? Mathew Waterson.
Oh shit.
How are you, sir?
How's it going?
The voice of Magneto is on the show. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. You have quite a list of video games that you've done voiceovers for TV series that you've done voiceovers. Like you've done Castlevania, Dota, Dragon's Blood on Netflix. You done Hogwarts Legacy. You did Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham, D&D, Honor Amongst Thieves, Elder Scrolls, Fallout 4, Call of Duty, Final Fantasy. You've got a list of and I'm just, I haven't even League of Legends. You've got a ton of voice acting and voiceovers that it's incredible when you look through it. And I'm like, wow, this gentleman's done it all.
It's one of those funny things of having, starting to do some press and interviews and things where people are like, oh, these are some of the things you've done. You kind of, it doesn't occur to you until somebody points it out. You're just like, no, I'm just trying to work and get the next job. And oh, great, I got this job. Great, that's awesome. You do it. And then you go on to the next one. And then all of a sudden someone's like, oh, you've got to do all this stuff. And you go, yeah, I've been really lucky. I've got really fortunate with what I've got to play in.
Yeah. Well, we're going to start getting a flood of people coming in right away here. But I want to say a quick hello to everyone in the chat. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Rick Costa was first. Copa was actually one of the first. I'm looking forward to tonight. I'm actually doing a premiere of the same episode. Thank you for joining us. Daxonar, Shani, what's up? Mama Badger's in the house. Oldest Gamer, Daxonar. Everyone, thank you for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. Also, Watami, thank you for joining us. And a big shout out to this person here. Give me the heads up. Scooby Pop 01 with a $49.99 banger.
Nice.
Boom, sharing the love. Hail Gooch and hail the Panic. I greatly appreciate you, Scooby. Thank you so much. That was, oh man, that's too
God
kind.
Bless this dude.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And maybe I'll just quickly do a let's do this one.
On my way to work, I hit a guy.
Oh, that doesn't seem so bad.
Every day this week.
Oh.
So thank you so much for the super chat there, Scooby. I greatly appreciate it. And Shani became a member. I just want to get those out of the way.
What's up, Shani?
Oh, dang. Another $49.99. Have a great night.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Oh man, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Thank you a ton. And we're starting to see the numbers come in right now. Everyone, welcome. We have the voice of Magneto, Mathew Waterson, here with us tonight. We're going to be, asking a ton of questions, and hopefully he has.
I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah. Well, I'll let Joe start off the first question for Mr. Mathew Waterson. So,
well, first of all, were you a big fan of the X-Men, specifically Magneto, and how did you get the role within the show itself?
So my exposure to the X-Men originally came through the feature film, starting with the Singer ones. I was in boarding school in England when the show was on. The first 5 seasons of this show was on, and so I didn't have access to it. So that was really the first time that I got a cohesive exposure to the entire property. Kids at school obviously had comic books and everything, because you had kids from all over the world, and so you would get issues of whether it was Batman or Dread or X-Men or Spider-Man or random stuff all through there, and it was awesome. But it was never, you're never following a storyline or following an era, so it was kind of haphazard, and it was kind of hard to sort of put together what it was you were reading. So it wasn't until the live action feature films that I got a complete narrative of who the characters were.
Gotcha.
And they were awesome. It was great. And when you look at all of the feature films as a group, some are obviously better than others, and all of them have all of them have their fans, and all of them have their
detractors.
Detractors. But they, they did a nice job of being an introduction, and then after that, I became interested in it and sort of got into it. I have to admit, my wife has had a lot more graphic novels and things coming into the marriage than I did. Like most of the stuff, like bookshelf right here is graphic novels, and those are all hers. So like once I met her, I got access to more material because she already had some of it. So that was my exposure to it initially. And then, I mean, it's hard, especially with that initial exposure, it's hard not to like Magneto, because when you've got Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender playing versions, you're like, well, these are just bloody good no matter what. So it makes, it kind of necessarily makes it one of your preferred characters. And then I got the job through the most sort of boring method possible, was a standard audition. I got sent out, I had an audition come in from the agents that was under a working title and a whole bunch of characters, and it said pick the ones that, based on the samples we send, you think that you can match and be good at. And so I did a couple of them, but that was definitely the one that seemed the closest to me. And when I looked up the voice actor who'd done it before, David Hemblem, who had passed away in 2020, he was an English actor who had moved to Canada and worked in Canada and theater for most of his life. And I went, oh, okay, so English working in the States. I was like, okay, and our voices like sat in a similar place just in terms of tone. So I went, okay, that's really going to be one that I can work into. And so, yeah, that was it. It was sending off an audition, and then got a call back where we kind of did a test episode where they directed me like it was a regular session, but it was sort of seeing how working with people were, and then taking that and plugging it in with other auditions and seeing, what sounded right. Because you're building a cast so that you could, and you have this sometimes where you can have somebody who's outstanding, but it just doesn't work with everybody else who you've cast. So you have to kind of make it work.
Equivalent of a chemistry reading, basically.
Yeah. Except, in animation, it's a thing of like, they get the stuff they want and then they're editing it together and trying to see, but it's exactly that. It's a chemistry reading.
So when you did it, did you base it then on the movie performances? Because that's what you'd seen, or because the Magneto in the series obviously very different than what they did in the
real different, yeah.
But you didn't really have a frame of reference, so I'm just wondering if you just said screw it and just
I took what David had done, and they sent like 4 or 5 clips from the original show of each character to use as reference. And one of the ones that they had sent was a clip, and and in part of it, David says a line from Shakespeare, says a line from Tempest, or as as Magneto, he says, "Oh brave new world that has such people in it," saying that as Magneto. And because I know that play, and because I have a theater background, like I was like, oh, I can mimic that line and use that as the sound as my hook to get into it. In the same way, if you talk to Ray Chase, who does Cyclops, like he listened. There's a video of I'm stealing his story, but there's a video of Cyclops just saying Jean like 47 times in a row. If I listen to that, I can get right into the Cyclops voice like that.
Nice.
For me, it was this line of from the Tempest that David did as Magneto in the original series, and I went, oh, okay, from that, for whatever reason, my ear hooked into that and goes, oh, cool, that. So I was using his voice, and then what was on the page, because what was on the page was similar to what had been in the original show, but also a little different. It was
he's
more
pretty
adult.
Shakespearean.
Yeah,
Magneto
and Magneto's a talker.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which fits. I mean, the tone that you got for the show, and I've said this, I'll say it live. I said it when before we went live. Blasphemy or not, like I actually like the voice that you bring to the character in the new series over the original, and I love the original Magneto too. I love the original series, all the voice actors. There was a couple of times in the new series it took me a second to get used to some of the new voice actors with the characters, just because it didn't resonate at first. But Magneto, when I heard the voice, like there's just something you brought to, especially we're talking about episode 2 when Magneto's doing the big monologue, with the UN up in space or up in the atmosphere. There was something about that, and I talk all the time about the score that went along with that scene. And when Bo was on, we were just talking. Yeah, the Newton. I was just like, it was perfect. And that is really the one thing that really brought me into the series and made me just extreme fan and like set the tone for the entire series going forward. And it was the voice and the monologue of Magneto at that point. And I was like, I love this, like this voice right here. Like, I love the way that you portray Magneto in the show.
Don't make me disappoint you. Great line.
Yeah.
That episode, and that episode was the one that they did as like the callback audition, the trial session to do and sort of see how that was that episode, obviously in a much earlier iteration of it, but that that covering that. So that was the one where they were like, well, let's throw this at him and see if he, sinks or swims in terms of figuring it out, which in retrospect makes a lot of sense. If you know if you know what you're doing with the show throughout the first season, which they knew going in, you're like, all right, well, let's throw the thing at the person that we need to make sure if they can do this, then we'll be okay for the rest of it, kind of thing.
There's a couple of questions that I have that people are sending in super chats, and I'll get to them. But what I appreciate the most with your voiceover for Magneto, he's very articulate but intimidating as well. Like you give him like a high intelligence level just through this voice. Like you can feel it coming through your voice and that tone, and you're just like, oh Jesus, like that's very intimidating. So like even the characters you can like with like Jubilee and a few others, and we're supposed to be reviewing episode 4 and we'll do that after, but they even kind of you can feel the intimidation from Magneto just based on your voice. Like it's like it's impressive.
Right.
It's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple questions here. We got a couple super chats, and we're going to get probably a flood of questions for you here. The first one is, did he do voices for Halo? He sounds familiar. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
If you want to answer that, Matthew.
Yeah, I did. There was the Halo like movie Fall of Reach. And I'm never sure of the character's
The only
name.
good live action is that Fall of Reach one. So thank God you were in it. Yeah.
It was either Captain Wallace or Captain Walachi. I've seen it written differently a couple of times. It was some random captain on a ship. I'm not exactly sure of what the name was of it, but that one. And then actually, I guess I did 2 or 3, and then I did I think Halo Wars 2, and then where I was one of the who was I? Douglas 42 in that one, and then
Spartan.
Yeah, I was a Spartan, so I was Douglas 42 in that one. And then in a more recent one, I don't remember what it was. I was one of the Marines, but it was a lot of fun because when I went in, they're like, so here's the thing. These Marines have been stuck out in space in the middle of nowhere for a long time. And Master Chief finally shows up, and the Marines are in various states of either like gritting through it or kind of going crazy. And you're the one who's just like, oh, sweet. Nice of you to show up. Where have you been for the last 4 years? Oh, yeah. No, you go do it. You're the Spartan. I'm not doing that. You go do it. You're 8 feet tall. I'm not. Yeah. Like,
did they tell you to add? Because there's a thing you can turn on that turns on wacky dialogue, and I just assumed that they tell them, go nuts, say whatever you want.
Yeah.
It'll be, yeah.
They wrote. I mean, they wrote to their credit. They wrote a lot of it. I mean, most of the really good stuff they wrote. But there's the other thing we did. I don't know, 5 or 6 sessions. So by the end of it, you kind of are drilled in, and they're like, if you have an idea for something, do the line as is, and then give it a pause so that we can cut if we need to, and then sort of go on. But that one was really fun because it was the one who the Marine doesn't have a name, but it was one where I went, oh no, you can pick out which one it is because he's the smart ass.
Next question's from Nadia, and thank you, Nadia, for $4.99. Mr. Waterson, sir, please talk to me. She says us, but she's talking about herself, right, with the Magneto voice. Yeah. Magneto, it was right.
What was the name again of the
Nadia?
Nadia, what is it that you would have me say? If you don't ask or tell me what to say, I take no responsibility for what comes out of my mouth.
I love it.
Hey, I want to jump right off that, Matthew. I'd say out of all the characters in this, would you call it a first season? Because technically it's kind of a would you? I'd say Magneto probably had the most emotional journey back and forth. Some might argue Storm. I personally think it's Magneto.
Yeah.
What would you say was probably the moment you got most into the show, where you were really giving it, the business?
There's a couple of places. But the 3 places that I found, at least I found the most moving in terms of when we were recording it, were the scene with Rogue when you kind of actually find out. I think it's in the 2nd or 3rd episode where you find out some of the backstory when she comes to him in Charles's office. That one, because that's obviously them actually being able to have an honest conversation after a long time. When really the only person who he's been having an honest conversation with has been Charles for years. The only person who's actually been able to talk to is Charles. then the scene that takes place in his head in 8, 9, and 10 with Charles, and that was one that we did so many iterations of. Like those lines changed, and there were big chunks that were in various versions of it that were cut out because they weren't necessary, but they were still just emotional and brutal. And there's a line that Charles now has where he says there's that something, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like there's a great value in seeing yourself in other people, and like looking around a room and seeing people who are family members who you see some physical relationship to. And there had been an earlier version where Eric talks about going with a girlfriend to her family's house for like a Passover dinner or something, and looking around and realizing that there were certain physical traits and personality traits that she shared with everybody at the table, and there was nobody on the planet who he shared anything with because his entire family had been obliterated. And that just everything through that scene had there was a lot of stuff in there. And then honestly, the one line that was the most difficult to get through was when he switches to German to Leech right before Lost. Like,
hoping you would put that one because
I
remember him from a kid. Everyone remembers Leech, and the way he talks in third person, so it's extra. Like I don't.
Yeah.
And also the feeling that Magneto, like you said, he lost his family, so mutants are all he has left, and he'll make sure that what happened to his original family never happens to it. It's like an extra.
Yeah,
I said this wouldn't happen.
Yeah, and it's in my head when and I don't remember, and this could have been something that Bo or Jake or Meredith said to me. I don't remember, so but in my memory of it, the switching to German is because that was like the last thing that his parents said to him right before they were separated.
Right.
And his parents were not his parents were not able to say everything is going to be okay. They just said, have no fear. And so he had told Leech that everything is going to be okay, and he can't say that anymore. The most he can do is the same thing. And in his head, he's like, it worked for me. Maybe he's going to be able, this kid's going to be able to survive somehow, and it'll be the same sort of, salve for him in his life that it was for me. And it clearly is not. It doesn't work out. But that was one where, like, the way it was coming out originally when I was first going through it, I was like, I can't do it like that because it doesn't do the job in the show. It does not convey what that line and that moment needs to convey in the show. I have to get my shit together so that I can deliver it in a way that does. It was a weird thing where you kind of get to experience some of the difference between, like, oh, I'm just going to go out and feel everything, which is like the thing, like, no, actors just go out and explode emotion, and you're like,
right.
Not when you're doing it right, because the aim is not to feel the thing. The aim is to make the audience feel the thing. And sometimes you have to adjust or control what you're doing in order to cause a feeling or an emotion or a reaction in them. Because if you just go and explode emotion, it doesn't work quite as well. So that was one where I had to, like, figure out how to do that line in a way that would work or that I thought was going to work for the show, even though in my, initial reading of it, I was having trouble just getting through that line.
Does it ever go to a point where you feel like you're watching and listening to yourself? Like it's just happening and you're like, you're almost separate and it's like someone else is doing the performance, even though it's you.
People who are really good, I think people who are really good get to that. I'm always a little more like, critical is not the word, but I'm always maybe a little more sort of, there are people who are able to just kind of like drop into the thing and do it without thinking. I don't have that skill set. I'm always,
however you get there though.
Yeah. I'm always having to kind of to think through it and work it in my head as I'm going. Cause
to me, that's harder. Because it's like, you're trying. It's not an autopilot or a.
I might be better if I was able to kind of let go and do that. And one day I might get there, but at the moment I'm still sort of planning it as I go through and figuring it out. And yeah, cause I like, that's the thing. There's some people who can just go with their emotion and their reactions, and they don't have a problem with muddying what they're trying to do.
It lines up with what the character would do as opposed to what they would. Right.
Yeah,
so you have to specifically make sure.
Yeah. And so like the people like Lenore Rogue, she can just go.
Really?
Like, she can just do it. And like if I sort of approach it in the same way, I can't do that. It doesn't work for me. It what I end up doing gets a little over the top. So I have to be a little more calculating in how I do it, which kind of works for Eric.
Yeah.
I was gonna say with Magneto, I love in the show, like everything you deliver is whatever the emotion might be, whether it's sadness, anger, whatever. The way you deliver it is extremely powerful without going overboard with like yelling. You know what I'm saying? Because you never really see Magneto yell, even in the moments when like he shuts down the entire world, and at the end when he has the big moment at the end of the last episode, you keep him in check, but just the slight tone change or whatever of how you deliver stuff is you just capture that power within the voice so well. I think that's one of the reasons why I just connected with the character a lot. Like he's probably one of my favorite characters in the new series as opposed to the old series. Like I just connected to Magneto extremely because of the voice,
Sure.
Yeah, no, I got like John Kreese vibes in Cobra Kai where it was very it was like everything you said, it was like you didn't have to yell. It was like even one of my favorite scenes is with when he confronts the I forget the name, but the Friends of Humanity when they're attacking the Morlocks, and he's going, basically going like, you can't even let these people live in your sewer,
right?
You know what I mean? It was like, and the way he says it, it's so eloquent and it's so done, but it's intimidating at the same time. Where it was like, oh God, what happens when this dude yells? Like,
disappointment.
He's an Omega level threat.
Yeah.
And to that, like to their credit, the production, Bo, Meredith, Jake, like that was the thing that they were really clear on from the beginning. They're like they said, Magneto does not yell because he doesn't need to yell. Like there may come a time when we use that, but that is not a thing. And so even and I remember like it became like a practical thing of like, okay, like when he's being arrested by the UN, like, okay, you're floating 20 feet up and there's people 40 feet away and there's helicopters. It's like, how do you
don't yell?
Yeah, and there's a certain point where we're like, well, we're going to raise our voice, but we're also just going to say the TV show so everyone can actually hear it correctly. When in reality, if you're talking just even at an elevated level, everyone's just like, what?
Yeah.
There's 4 helicopters. It's
there's a lot less gravitas.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, when I was watching it.
But they were really clear on like he doesn't yell because he doesn't need to. He can do so anytime. If I started to go too big, they'd be like, great, same thing, just smooth it out and keep the power behind it, but don't ramp up.
I have a question about the one of the things that I find interesting is that Magneto can have different accents depending on who's playing him, but I feel like the thing that's consistent is the cadence, like the way he speaks. But like when I'm reading the comics, it's like there's almost a certain tone. But I'm wondering when it came to an accent, because obviously his heritage, he's German, right? But he's lived all over in his past. Right. Was there ever any point? I mean, I guess you had the blueprint of the original to follow, so you're just following him. But did you ever channel like a specific accent or?
We talked about that a good amount as well. That was one where like what I was told coming in is we want there to be an indication that there was an accent, but it's hot. Like we know it is German, like that's what it originally was. But as you sort of said, he's, if you even listen to Bono or Liam Neeson or Colin Farrell now, and then you listen to them at the beginning of their careers, like the difference in how they sound now, you go, oh, okay, yeah, you can still hear an accent, but it starts getting really hard to hear what it is, whether that it is, Irish or Scottish or German, or, you listen to
play European. It's almost American, but with a tilt of exotic, but from that area. Like
even Fassbender, who is fluent in German, and his English is crisp and precise, but there is something about his delivery, just in the way he talks, that clearly has been influenced by his German background and that sort of rhythm and stuff like that. So every now and then I would, we would be doing something and I would get the note of like, let's get a little bit more of an accent back in there. And you're right that a lot of the time it was more the way that I found doing it got the sort of the right approval was adjusting cadence, was making the way he speaks and the way he sort of phrases things a little more Germanic, and a little, adjusting where the pauses and where the timing was. That seemed to give just enough of an indication that the English was not just American or English or something like that. There was something else.
It's
to
almost
it.
a Morpheus from the Matrix, which I think he might have been doing a little bit of the Magneto of the like everything I say is important, and so he says it with those little, which it is when it's Magneto for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. That and then also like the writing, the way it was written. It was written in a way that lent itself to that kind of import and that kind of cadence and that kind of thing, and like a lot of the stuff that a lot of stuff that people react to is the way the way he phrases things and what he says and how he says it and stuff like that. So I mean the nice thing was a lot of the time I just had to get out of the way of the writing.
Right. I do have a couple questions, and there's a couple people here that are wanting to be voice actors. This one comes from Vex Electronica. Off topic question: does he have any advice for someone who's trying to break into the voice acting work and already has, I'm assuming that says has, some training freelance experience under their belt?
Sure. Yeah. The nice thing is, one of the most successful voice actors out there has helped all of us. There's a voice actor named D. Bradley Baker, who, if you don't know who he is, he's been in everything you've ever seen. And
he's everyone in Star Wars right now.
Everyone.
He's all the clones. Yes, he's everyone.
Yeah, like he's the fish in American Dad, and he's been in everything. And D also has the ability to make sounds, like creature sounds that most creatures can't make. It's staggering. But D has a website that's literally called iwannabeavoiceactor.com, and he covers everything in it, from complete beginners all the way through to people at his level. And he covers everything from the skill of it, the technique of it, technical aspects of like recording and putting together recording rigs and travel rigs and things at home, where to take classes, what kind of classes to take, what to do when you start needing to, it's time to like get a demo made and to start looking for agents and what agencies are what and where they are and where you should look for. And he has everything covered and he's constantly adding to it. So the reality is, if you go to his site and start at the beginning and read through all of the articles, by the time you're done, you're going to have a leg up on 99% of the competition. So like in terms of like one single thing, that is the easiest and the best recommendation I have. And the other part of it is it's all acting. It's no different. Like get in acting classes. It doesn't matter whether it's stage or screen or improv or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's all the same stuff.
Does it bother you when people do that? I mean, it's definitely a different skill set. I'm sure a lot of actors that are stage actors or live, and then they get behind and it's hard to do repetition for long hours recording. But a lot of people try to make it seem like voice acting is somehow this different thing, but it's still acting. You still have to. Yeah,
it's not annoying to your question. It's kind of what it is, and it makes sense. Like when you see something that, well, you see somebody on stage or on screen, you have to do stuff with your whole body. But again, like it's all real different. When you're on stage, it's your entire body the entire time. When you're on screen, sometimes it's your whole body. Sometimes it's this much of you that they're seeing or this much of you that they're seeing. And sometimes they don't see you at all. It's, you're off screen or something. And then in voiceover, it's all off screen. It makes sense that if you just kind of glance at it, you go, well, but that's only one part of acting. It's just the voice bit. So that's fine. If you do training as an actor, like the voice is one of the biggest parts of it, because they're like, that's how you say everything and how everything comes across, and a lot of the time how all the emotion comes through. So it's not annoying. It's just a part of it. It's the same way that most people, if you ask them the intricacies of a trap under a sink, they're like, I don't know, it's the S thing that is there, I don't know why it's there. And plumbers are just like, okay, don't worry about it, kind of thing.
I see you guys, you get into, especially, I mean, famously the Mark Hamill Jokers, you guys are doing full body performances even if they're just getting your voices. So and to do it for hours on end, and I do the same line 20,000 times, please. That has to be an extra challenge on top of the normal challenge of understanding your character, parodying their emotions, feeling all that normal jazz. So
it's the nice thing is it's fun. And there's times when there's every job where it's times when you're like, this bit of it sucks and I am exhausted and I don't want to do this anymore. But the reality is like, this is a great gig.
I think about that all the time. 1 million people would kill me in a second to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just, thank you.
It's a great gig. Yeah.
You're really good at it. So that helps.
I've got a question that doesn't really have anything to do with the show, just more of your profession. Do you have your own like home studio that you do all the recording and then send that send that to the. Oh, right there.
That's
Nice.
it. That's the winner. This is the booth right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
The entire show was recorded in this booth. Like,
wow.
I am lazy. I recorded this entire show. The last show I did, the Crudes show that I did for Hulu, I did that entire thing. I didn't find out until like the end of that show after 52 episodes that the producers went, "No, you're the only actor who never came in. You never came into the studio. Everyone we started that one in COVID. We started that one in
gotcha.
I remember that. All right,
January 2020, and so we started at home, and then everybody else eventually came in, and I just was like, "Nah, I'm good."
I got
you don't mind not having the back and forth, even if it's just across the recording room, just the extra little bit, or
if any of these things had been group records, I would have been in. Like that one, The Crudes, which is basically a sitcom. Like that was supposed to be a group record, and I would have loved to have done that as a group record because the people in it are hysterical and amazing, and it would have been fun. But with the exception of the first Marvel movie I did, which was the Hulk and
Where Monsters Dwell.
Where Monsters Dwell one, with the exception of that one, which was a group record, which was brilliant and still was one of the most fun gigs I've had because I'm getting to watch, Fred Tatasciore do Hulk in person 8 feet away, and it's amazing to watch him just do that for 2 days on end. Or Liam O'Brien or whoever's doing, like, getting to watch the people do the things is great.
Right.
But everything else I've done has been individual records. So if a show was going to be a group record, I would absolutely be in. But if I'm going to be on my own anyway, and then the producers are going to be zooming in because
that makes sense.
Then I'm like, we're lucky. We have this office in the studio that I've been able to do all this stuff from. So it all just gets done in here.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, like, the couple of the questions I was going to ask you already answered with the booth, of course. But like getting into, like, are you at all interested in doing stage work still and doing some live action acting? Like, I think I've seen that you had some live action stuff, but like, are you just set on just doing voice acting? That's your thing? Or
I started out in theater. I love theater. I started doing voiceover because I had the opportunity to, and then voiceover pays better than theater does. And so I had been in New York, and I was being told to do animation in video games, you've got to be out on the West Coast so that people can meet you in person. And games are a lot of games are performance capture. So
most of these days that's
a lot. Yeah. So so like the thing that brought me to the West Coast again was a game. It was a game called The Order 1886 that ended up taking like 18 months to do. So
that's a good game.
It was and that was a blast. That was the first game I ever did, and it was all performance capture, and it was awesome. It was so much fun to do. So and then in the last sort of 10 years I've just been voiceover because I've been really lucky and I've kept working. My wife and I talk about it all the time. Like, we'd love to go back and do theater and stuff like that. We have small kids, so right now it is not practical for one of us to be gone for 3 weeks for 8-hour days, 5 days a week for rehearsal, and then be gone for 8-hour days or 8-show weeks, either in LA or in New York or in a regional one. But both of us have said we would like to get back to that once family life permits. And then in terms of on camera, I never had really an on camera career, and that was just the way it was. Like, I started out in theater, and I had 4 or 5 on camera auditions, but not enough that it ever really as a thing that I got into. Instead, I ended up, my career took me into voiceover, and voiceovers made me real happy. Like, if someone came and offered me a good on-camera gig, I would, of course, take it. But
which might happen because Hollywood caught on to how popular video games are, and so now they're going to be remaking or making every video game ever. And so, like Troy Baker, you're seeing him in Last of Us on.
Yeah.
So guess what, buddy? You're not ugly. So you're probably going to be in live action.
It might happen. It's that weird thing though of like at 45 with small kids and a job that's going. I'm not gonna be trekking around town to do like to audition for 2-line roles on a procedural. Right. Not because there's anything wrong with those gigs. It just doesn't economically or scheduling wise make sense for me.
Yeah, those bit parts. I mean, that's at least it's always like at least a full day's work. I feel like to do those.
And it pays well. It's a scale gig. It's good money for a day, but I am really lucky in that I've got a career going in voiceover that is at the moment supporting, my wife and I are supporting our family, and that's great. So I'm if opportunities to do other stuff come up, absolutely. But it again, like, you get to that weird position where you're like, oh, something that 15 years ago I would have jumped at because I would have gone, oh, any opportunity is great. Now you go, I got different priorities and different things pulling at me, and you have to make some of those decisions, and it's fine, and you're comfortable with it.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach. You haven't asked.
What was the moment in your life, in your career, that you realized that you finally made it? You hit your achievement that you worked so hard for.
I think that the closest I've had to that was when I moved to LA again, when I moved back to LA from New York about 10 years ago. And I just said, I'm not going to get another job. I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to see if I can do that. And it was hit and miss for the first sort of year or two, but I managed to do it. I kept expenses down. I didn't spend a lot of money, and I managed to not have to really take another job again. Like, I had, like, the whole time I was in New York, I had other jobs and things to pay to actually pay the bills, and acting had produced, doing VO had paid me more and more and more money, but it wasn't enough to live on. And then when I moved to LA about, 10 years ago, I sort of made the decision of, I'm going to see what happens if I just do this. And so a year or two in, when I went, holy crap, I haven't had to get a job. All right. It's by the skin of your teeth.
You made it.
That was all you ever asked for.
That's our metric. If we can just do this and not have another job, then we've made it on you. That's the only metric that matters. Yeah. And you're having fun. And
a lot of my musician friends get that flack where, they'll say, I'm a professional musician. They'll, well, you play at this restaurant here. And I was like, he doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? It was like, all he does is get paid to play his music, and he can live in his house. What other name for it would you call it other than a professional musician?
There can only be like one Taylor Swift or one Beyonce.
Yeah, exactly.
People who can make $1 billion. Like, most people are just working.
Yeah.
Who did you do in Hogwarts Legacy, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, yeah.
I played the game 4 times all the way through. It sounds like one of the goblins in the lower register, but
yes. So I'm there's 3 characters in there. I'm Aesop Sharp, the potions master.
Okay.
Okay. I'm when in the flashback, when you sort of see the origins of the magic that they're looking for, and there's like 3 or 4 professors that are like underground, and they find the girl. I'm one of the. I am Rook. I'm the Rookwood ancestor.
Oh, you're Rookwood.
Okay.
I'm not Rookwood in the present one. I'm Rookwood's grandfather.
That's
and then I'm Ranrock. I'm the main goblin bad guy.
Great job. Great job. I knew
I've
taken you down several times. I didn't want to. I'm a fan of your people. You are oppressed by the wizards, but that's not the way. No, I can't wait. I hope you are involved with the sequel and that there is one, because
my lot in video games is to be killed. Like, I'm at this point, I'm pretty sure that there's a sizable bump on video games when I am the bad guy that you can kill. There's enough people out there who want to kill me that they go, great, I get to kill that sumbitch. I'm gonna buy that game and kill him.
I hope you start living. Play the hero.
Is there a role that you love the most out of all of them? Because you've, like I said, you've done like League of Legends, Lego Dimensions, Halo 5, Fallout, Uncharted, Final Fantasy, Call of Duty, Conan. You did Conan. Like, I mean, God of War, Ragnarok. Like you've done all, like, so many roles. Is there one that stands out that you love doing?
What, like, one that stands above everything else? Not really. There's for a lot of the ones that you mentioned, a lot of the ones that if you look at the stuff I've done, you would guess are ones that that stand out, like, and for different reasons. Like, Magneto is some of the best writing I've ever got to say. And so that obviously stands out. Grohl and Troll Hunters, I'm always going to love, because he's an awesome character. And also, that was my first animation job, and that was one where I was only supposed to be in like 1 episode, and then the head of the studio just liked the character, and so I ended up being in the entire series when I had at that point in my career, I had no business being in that show. With
that must have felt good.
It was great. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, but it was one of those stories that you sort of hear and you're like, you can't recreate. And when people say, like, how do I get into the business, you go, there's a luck to it, because it just happened that this character that I did, there was just supposed to be kind of the bully that helps the lead character kind of find a little bit of bravery and figure out, and you go, maybe he can actually do this gig. It just happened that the head of the studio was like, I kind of like that guy. I kind of like that character, so keep him alive a little longer. And then because of the way that animation works, by keeping him alive a little longer, they had to make the model a little more complicated, which made the model was more expensive, which meant that they had to
we got to get our money out, right?
Get the money out of it. Yeah. Then he'd been in it more, and now he'd been in it more. They'd had to do something with him, so they made him sort of switch and become, a good guy. And now you can't get rid of him because killing that character off has to have a certain emotional weight. So now you have to find a time to do. And so all of a sudden, I get to be in the show all the way through almost, until the very end.
Did you get any resentment from that, by the way? Because famously, this sounds exactly what happened to Spike in Buffy, and Joss Whedon wanted to kill him off. Yeah, and then they had a whole thing of like, you're lucky. Did you get any, or were they just more than happy they had a character that took off?
No, everybody. I have nothing negative about that entire experience in any way, shape, or form.
That's great.
In terms of my interactions with anybody. It's been great. I've been really lucky in that, like, even in this one, X-Men obviously engenders a huge emotional response from people.
Oh yeah.
And going in and doing Magneto was similar to when I did Doom Guy. You're like, you hope, like, in an ideal, you go, the best I can hope for is that a third of people like what I do, a third of people are like, and a third of people think that I destroyed their childhood. Like, that's okay. I can handle that. And so the reality is all you actually want is for that. And so, like, the thing that's been great about X-Men has been any critical stuff that I've had has been people who are upset about, like, story choice, the things that the characters do in the stories. Like, oh, we don't like Magneto and Rogue together because we like Rogue and Gambit. I'm like, that I don't take personally. You're actually invested in the characters. You're invested in the story. And it's not going the way you would like it to go. That's great. That means that you care about it. So I'm fine with that.
Apathy is the worst thing. I feel like that you could have.
Yeah. So, I've been really, really lucky. And in Doom, some people like the voice. Some people didn't like the voice. Some people didn't think there should be a voice. And
doesn't he just say rip and tear? Like, or
yeah, it was,
I thought it was great.
Guts.
I tried to not fangirl out when I realized that was you.
Yeah.
That was good.
Who are you in Ragnarok, by the way?
So Ragnarok was AJ, who is Gambit in X-Men and with me. AJ and I were the previs for Kratos and Atreus. So the way that, if you watch that game, one of the amazing things about that game is that there's no cuts in the cinematics. There's no edits. You don't jump from cut to cut. It's a single camera move the entire way through.
Yeah,
that's really complicated to figure out, and that's really hard to figure that out on the day of the shoot with the entire crew and all the cast and everything. Like, that's expensive and it takes a long time. So the way they worked was they would spend months figuring out the camera moves for all the shots, so that they built it all, so that when the day came, or the days came to shoot the scenes with the full, they were costing them however many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a day with the entire crew, they could say, we don't need to worry about blocking or camera moves. Here's what's happening. Here's where you move from here to here and here to here. We can show you in the cinematic, in the 3D animation from when we did the previs and did mocap on it. So this is the physical movement. That's where we start on the scene. And so they'd been doing that for a little while, and then I got brought in to do Kratos, and they decided that it kind of worked, so they kept me. So AJ and I were doing that for maybe a year or so, and also Morla Gondora, who plays Xavier's girlfriend in the show. She was in it. She was doing that as well, so that's how I met her originally. And we were doing it for a year or so before COVID, and then COVID happened and everything kind of got shut down, and then it came back. So we were doing that in total for, I don't know, I want to say like three and a half years. Wow. But so we did all the previs to sort of build the cinematic scenes that they then were able to give to, Sonny and to Chris, and be like, great, here's the framework for how the camera's going to move and where the blocking is. Go do your thing from that. And then after that, I also played, there's some like Ghost Knight or something that you fight somewhere in it that I play, and I don't remember.
Okay.
Awesome. So like as an actor, like you mentioned that you grew up doing stage and obviously getting into voice acting. Is there someone that you looked up to? I mean, that like one of those actors that you just said, that guy's just the peak of acting. And like James Earl Jones is like kind of a given. Like, I mean,
sure,
for
like
Darth Vader,
Ian McKellen.
So here's the answer, which is completely honest. And now it feels like bandwagoning, and it's not. When I first got to New York in, I don't know, 2006 after drama school, the first agency that I was represented by, at one point after I'd been with them for a couple of weeks, the head of the commercial department calls me in just to meet me because she hadn't met me yet. And so we're sitting and chatting, and so this was, I think, in like 06, 05, 06, somewhere around there. She said, like, whose career, she goes, I know this is a dumb question, but like, whose career do you like? And my honest to God answer that got a really sideways glance from her was Brendan Fraser.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, because I went like, because he's like 6'3", I'm like 6'4". I'm like, he's this big goofy guy who's, you know, also capable of doing this amazing stuff. And like, look, I'm a goofball. Like George of the Jungle is one of my favorite movies. I think that movie's amazing. But like when you look at like somebody who got to do like goofy things like that, or like Encino Man, also got to do things like The Mummy, which is just an amazing adventure movie.
But could do Blast from the Past, which you think you could do that too.
And then also was
Encino
doing
Man.
Yeah, but then also was doing The Quiet American and was doing Gods and Monsters with Ian McKellen. And, you know, he was doing, even in his sort of 20s and early 30s, I was like, that's a cool career. Because you are famous, but you're not the kind of famous where your life sucks. And you're getting to do great stuff, and you're well paid, and you're not the richest person in the world, but as long as you're not a Muppet, you should be fine money-wise. I'm like, that seems like a great career. Now, obviously, that, you know, it took a while, but now he's kind of back in everyone's awareness. But
yeah, I cheer whenever I see Brendan in a movie.
Oh, I love Brendan.
Brendan is loved by fans.
Yeah.
I just always thought he was great, and his movie choices, whether they were like the silly ones or the serious ones, were always fun. And so that was one where I you know, in terms of like, you know, someone saying Marlon Brando or this or that's, like, these guys are all fantastic, but in terms of a more realistic idea of like, well, who has a career that you're like, oh, I could see maybe trying to do that. That he was the one who I went, no, you're great. I love what you do, and I wish I could adopt it as my own kind of thing.
Yeah, that's I feel that. I always like when people answer that for like music and stuff. I always say like, pick any band, their organ player, because he gets to travel around the world with the band, but he can still like walk around town and
have a
you know,
normal
like
life, yeah,
go shopping and everything. It was
and
like,
then if you tell people, they're like, that's sick. But then if you don't want to tell people,
yeah,
you know, that's the card you know, you can play that card whenever you want, but like it's in your deck, but you get to do whatever you want to do.
I have thought about that I used to, because like I'm in acting too and that stuff, and he used to be like, man, I'd want to be recognized everywhere, and the older I get, the more I'm like, it's okay.
Anonymity, boy.
I hate running into people I went to high school with.
Well, see, I don't hate that yet, but I also feel like by the time someone's there, it's like, man, these people like can't have normal lives.
Yeah.
Oh, to be a young man again. By the way, why aren't you wearing your costume? You boys didn't get the memo. That's all right.
Oh no, hold on. I 90s it up. There's no cut the collar off.
Yeah, at least Matthew has the
proper
Magneto helmet in the back.
Yeah.
Listen,
did they give you that, or did you have to buy it yourself?
I had to buy it
here,
bro.
I have the same one.
They didn't give you a Magneto helmet.
They should have given you a costume, as far as I'm concerned.
No,
Please tell me you wore that when you're in the booth.
No, the reverb off of that would have been the echo off of that would have been.
The reverb will mess it up. It's the other thing about it is we found out when it arrived from Amazon, and we sort of unpacked it in the backyard, and my kids were like, "Ooh, we want to put it on," so we put it on all the kids, and then I put it on, and my wife starts laughing, and I said, "What?" She goes, "Doesn't fit right." And like the thing is, it comes with like these pads to make it fit right, but at the moment, I didn't put any of those in, partially because it's got like this cool design on the inside of it that I don't want to pad. But the problem is that right now when I put it on, because it doesn't fit properly, and then with the beard and stuff, she looked at me and she goes, "You look like one of the dwarves of Moria that's like 8 rows back."
Oh, I thought you looked like a Spartan, but yeah, I guess you could go dwarf, a very zesty dwarf because of that color. But that's all right. Maybe a Spartan in like the boss version of 300, whatever that was cool. Yes.
Like it doesn't quite have the same effect. And one of the things that I immediately did was I realized and appreciated how difficult it had been and how much work had to go into the costume department in making the helmets for both McKellen and Fassbender that did not make them look silly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I think that goes with almost any costume.
Yeah.
They can look real silly real quick, depending on the talent level or just with the vibe.
I have to say, Matthew, I have the same helmet. It fit my fat head just fine.
No padding needed.
You know, I didn't think about this, but I guess Magneto, if his helmet doesn't fit, you could just kind of like just mess with
He
it a
can mold
bit
it
and
himself.
then
he could just make it float and like it's comfortable because he could have it a little big and it's comfortable because it's not actually touching it.
Oh yeah.
One last serious question: do you think Magneto is a villain? Do you think Magneto is a villain?
No.
Or is he right? Okay.
No. And one of the things that's really, really fun about this particular world and this IP is that it's one of the rare things like this where Charles and Eric want the exact same thing.
But the methodology.
Yeah. It's just the methodology. And it makes sense to their particular powers as well. Charles has the ability to literally see or sense the good in everyone. It doesn't matter how horrendous the person in front of him is or what they're doing. If there is anything good in their head, he can sense it. He can see it. And so and so it makes sense that he goes, no, there's something in there that's worth trying to save. For Eric, he doesn't have that. All Eric has to go on is what he has seen in his life. And so with his background compared to what Charles's skill set is, like, it makes sense why they come at trying to do the same thing in different, from different directions. Because Magneto is so fascinating because he's not trying to make himself rich. He's not trying to make himself powerful. He's not trying to take over the world. If they left him alone, he'd probably just be running a bed and breakfast somewhere in Bavaria and be perfectly happy. Like,
with a family.
He's tried.
Right, he's tried. I know.
He would be like running Mercedes-Benz factory or something. He's like, I don't know. I know how to make the cars better, kind of thing. But like,
sorry. Go ahead. No,
I was just saying, but that's why he's so fascinating is because what he is trying to do, everything he does is in service of protecting people who are at risk, protecting people who don't necessarily have the ability to protect themselves.
His people.
And that's the thing, like not all, like the mutants that you see for the most part are the sexy ones who have cool powers. But one of the things that's really cool about X-Men is that you see mutants who don't really have powers that are worth a damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or have mutations that don't really do much in practical terms.
Tentacle that just comes out here. It doesn't do anything.
No, I love, those characters, I always think about or every once in a while I'll think about the mutants that have powers that not only make them ugly, but they're not even useful. Like Nightcrawlers are useful, but then you have characters like Beak, Beak. The Morlocks, where it's like the Morlocks, he's a bird, but he can't fly like a bird. He literally just has a beak. Like that's horrible.
Stupid penguins.
I do have a couple things I want to mention because we're coming up to an hour and we only got you for an hour here. And again, thank you so much for coming on to the channel.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Oh, dude, you have no idea how much we praise the work on
awesome.
this series. Yeah. It's been incredible. The writing, the directing, the voice acting, everything's been on point, like perfect. This is what we wanted as nerds for reading the comics as kids for so long. And finally, we're getting something magnificent. Zack is our artist for a lot of these episodes, and he does a piece of he does a character or a couple characters, and I wanted him to share his work tonight with you so you can see some of the talent he has.
Nice.
Zack, what do you got going on there? If you want to quickly share.
I'm still chiseling away at it, but you could full screen me the whole chat can show. Working on something.
Ooh, wow.
That's awesome.
So I'm still,
dude. Yeah. Oh yeah, looking good.
Oh yeah, because you guys are doing 4, right?
Episode 4.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Still working on it, but but I gotta tell you, I think because this is my moment right now. I gotta tell you, man, dude. Like everyone's saying, the show is fantastic.
Yeah.
I always love hearing personally, just the backgrounds of the talent that has worked on these properties and if they haven't loved it, they've grown to love it later on. And in some level, it connects all of us as fans and nerds together. And we can get on the same page to see it, when we approach the content that we consume on a constant daily basis. There's things that we ourselves can add input on in case if the tables were in our direction to handle it. So the work that you've done in X-Men was stupendous. And I can't, I hope there's more seasons on this. I really do.
We know we have 3.
Nice.
They've told us we're greenlit through 3 seasons.
3 more or 3?
3 total. No, we know through season 3 has been greenlit. So we've already done a bunch of the recording for season 2. I think most of the initial record for season 2 is done. and so now we got to get into ADR and pickups and stuff like that. But they a little right before the show premiered, they announced that they'd already greenlit us for season 2, and then a few weeks after it had first come out, Brad, the head of the studio at Marvel, the head of streaming at Marvel, said, "No, we're doing 3. I'm greenlighting season 3, or I'm allowed to say we've greenlit season 3." So
nice.
We know we're doing 3. We obviously would love to do it. I would like to do it until I die and someone takes over from me, but I don't know if we're getting that far.
Well, hold on to this, because that also means anytime Magneto shows up, you can lay claim to being the video games, other X-Men. That's where your agent will like, if there's a Magneto, you better sign me up.
You could even just listen. You could get a rich fan to just pay you to just read every Magneto line in a comic and just have it as an audio.
Sign up for Cameo. Trust me, Nadia will pay for your
Magneto. What did this text say?
You guys, I know Matthew, you gotta leave. You said you could stick around for an hour. I just want to quickly let you talk about any of the cons that you're coming on. Anything else that you can announce that you're working on that might be coming out with voice acting? Go ahead and shoot what you got.
I'm trying to think of anything that we're allowed to talk about. There's that fun thing, like two of my wife's brothers are in the military, and they have joked with us before. They're like, we feel like you are more restricted in what you guys can talk about than we are. and literally lives are at stake with us, and you guys are talking about video games and cartoons. I'm like, I know, but they're really protective of this.
Shockingly, lives are still at stake. I don't know how that works.
Eventually. It's but so I don't think except for season 2 will be out again. We don't know when. They don't tell us that so that we can't accidentally divulge something before we're supposed to, but there will be a season 2. Hopefully in the not terribly distant future, but I don't know when. I can't comment on that. And then I'm going to be doing one of the really cool things about this particular job after all the other stuff I've done is that this job has been one that has created a demand for convention appearances. So I've only done like 4 or 5 of them so far, but I have a bunch of them lined up over the course of the summer. So they'll I think I'm actually doing one in Australia in a couple of weeks. I did one in New Zealand a couple of weeks ago. But the Australian one's not, I don't think it's not quite locked down, but it'll be pretty soon. After that, the weekend of like the 20th of July, I will be in Columbus, Ohio at Animate Columbus with Ray Chase, who's Cyclops, and AJ Locasio, who is Gambit. At the end of the month, I'll be in Corpus Christi with Ross Marquand, who is Xavier. That one's always fun. I did Nashville with him a few weeks ago, and he's a sweetheart. That's a nice thing. Everybody on this show is lovely, which has been one of the really cool things about voiceover is that I've yet to come across somebody who's really unpleasant, which has been amazing. Well, those are the ones I've got coming up in the next the next few weeks. But and the really cool thing about this, and this kind of goes to what Zack was saying, is that at the very first one of these cons that I did a month or so ago up in Calgary, which I had never been to before in Canada, and it turns out Calgary is kind of like the Dallas of Canada. It's like mountains on one side and open fields on another, and it's either cowboys or oil and gas. But the thing that was really cool was there were a number of kids who came up who said, this is a thing that one of my parents loved in the 90s, and my parents and I don't get along. We don't see eye to eye for any myriad of reasons. Some are normal kid reasons, some are bigger ones because they
don't like Magneto. We understand. It's all
something,
right.
But they're like, this is a thing that I've been able to start watching with my mom or my dad every week, and it's actually been a thing that we can share that has helped us to kind of find a common language and a common ground where we can start to actually be people to each other and not just not know how to talk to each other. And having people sort of come up and talk about those sort of stories has been really, really cool, and not something that I expected to get to have a chance to experience going into it.
Nice. Well, I'm the resident Canadian here, so
Canadian.
Are you in Canada or are you in the States?
I am in Canada.
Okay, whereabouts?
I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay.
Give me your address.
Right, we say we're like we're right in the middle.
GPS coordinates.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
We're the butthole of Canada. We're right in the middle. So,
Maybe go again, Kansas next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. If you because I've been trying to get a hold of Ray, Chase, and Russ Marcon. If you can maybe put in a nice word, that would be greatly appreciated.
I'll see Ray in a couple of weeks, and I'll see Russ at the end of the month.
Nice. That would be awesome if we can get them on to talk about, because people are loving us doing these deep dives into each episode. And again, like we've had Bo on here. He said he's going to come back and talk about some episodes with us. So it's been fantastic. Thank you so much again for coming on, answering all the questions, telling us about your career. I'd love to have you back for season 2 if that's any chance of that happening in the future.
Sure, that'd be great. Just to let me know when is good for you. Like I said, I didn't. They told us the night before the trailer dropped in January that the trailer was coming out the next day, and it was not until the trailer dropped and I saw the end of it that I found out when the premiere date is. So that's how much information they give us. So I don't know when season 2 is coming out, but I'm looking forward to it.
I'll hit you up again.
Can I ask one last question?
Yes,
before
Joe,
Matthew leaves.
Yeah.
And this is just a fun question. Do you ever, when you're out and about in public, grocery store, or whatever, just use any number of your voices that you do for acting on complete strangers, just because, for shits and giggles?
So the closest that I ever did was when I used to live in Manhattan. I lived at 110th and 5th, so I lived on like the northeast border of Central Park, on like the right in between like Harlem and Spanish Harlem. And at one point, there was one night when I was sort of going home in the middle of the night at, I don't know, 2-3 a.m. And there were a couple of guys like had got into a fight that I was sort of approaching, and then there was a group like around them watching the fight, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try and get around the thing, then I couldn't, and then I got people's attention, and the thing that occurred to me, I was like, who are the people that is most likely to get the response of like, no, that guy's crazy, I'm going to leave him alone. So as soon as people wouldn't leave me alone, I just started yelling at them in the thickest Russian accent I had. And I know a little Russian, so I started yelling at them in Russian a little bit, and he was yelling at them with a thick Russian accent, and it worked. They were like, no, there's crazy, and then there's Russian crazy. Nice. Leave that guy alone.
That's awesome.
I actually did that to get this one guy from calling this girl I knew.
Really?
Phone, pretended to be a Russian guy, and he hung up on me. Never called her.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the closest I've done. I've never used any of the other stuff, but that's the way I have used it. Was pretending to be I had used the English a couple of times, and that usually would bring people out because they're like, What are you doing here in Harlem? What are you doing? What is this English guy doing in Harlem? Like a couple of times that when that was just would get people's interest because they're suddenly like, I joined up here. But this was one where like it was a bunch of young guys, and it was the middle of the night, and they were already in the middle of a fight. And I went, I just want to get out of here. So when somebody tried to block my way, I just started yelling at them in Russian, and they were like,
no. No thanks.
No.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
I hope everything goes well. Have fun on the con circuit. And join us again in season 2. It'd be greatly appreciated. And please take care.
Thank you, guys. No, this was a blast. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
And,
thank you, Matthew. Appreciate you.
God bless, so man. God bless.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
Bye
now. So that was Magneto that joined us tonight.
Wow, I didn't expect awesome. I didn't know who the special guest was going to be.
That was awesome.
Well, we got 195 people watching. I appreciate all of you guys. We are going to dive into episode 4 here quickly. Hopefully we can crank this out in an hour. If not, we will crank it off in an hour. But any general thoughts? Anything you guys want to quickly mention that we just experienced? I mean, we've got an actor, and we've got the writer director of the show now on. So any general thoughts of what's been happening? You guys want?
It's been more than I could think that we were actually going to do. Just sitting down and talking about the show for one. Just getting together and knowing we were going to talk about the show was awesome when this was being discussed. And then just lo and behold, having Bo on, and then having Matthew on, and possibly maybe access to more of the voice actors and people in the show. I mean, this show is way more than I thought it was going to be, and it's one of the highlights of my week. Like it honestly is, coming and talking to the show, and just this was great. Knowing that Matthew was going to come on and just getting a chance. I love voice actors. I really do.
Yeah.
Like I just love the profession. I love how they can do different voices, and I love it when he got to speak a little Magneto when he was on the show, and that was really cool, so
Nadia's
shout out to Nadia.
I think we did a great disservice. He mentioned going to Australia, and no one here told him that motherfucking place doesn't exist.
There was somebody
I
was
was
it
gonna
Jay
bring
Goober in
it
the
up.
chat?
I was gonna bring it
Yeah.
up, and I was just like, I don't know.
It's all right. He'll find out when the plane has to circle because he can't find a place to land.
Dude,
That was good, man.
the
I
best
think-
time.
You're on a string.
I think
Good
I
luck.
wish I wanted to ask, but it seemed like the answer was no if he had read any of the comics, but it seems like probably not. But I was wondering if they put together like reading packages. But either way, that was so cool.
Or made him
well-
watch every episode of like the original series.
Yeah.
Bo did mention that they weren't allowed to use the references from the books. They were kind of shunning that.
What?
So, yeah, so they were shunning that, and
was-
so, but he talked about his wife having the graphic novels. So
Mhm.
I'm
Cheat code.
sure he's
Bro, he had to buy his own Magneto helmet. What the
That's
fuck?
messed
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
man.
How do you not go send your voice actor a Magneto helmet and send like
I
great
think
guy.
Marvel would have
Great
given
guy.
him like
I can't thank Matthew enough for coming on.
Really cool.
What do I have coming up next? I got some guests coming on, and next week I got a guest coming on. That's going to be on Monday during the day. So I got a lot of
nice.
surprises in store for this channel. So
Nice.
everyone just hang on. Maybe Thursday nights when we do Demon Slayer, someone might join us there too. So yeah, having a lot of fun on the show. You guys want to get into episode 4 and crank this out? And talk
Let's
about-
go.
Love cranking it out.
Yeah.
38
Oh,
seconds.
yeah.
We'll crank
Yeah.
it out.
I'm ready
What
to
are we
crank.
gonna do with the
Crank
other
away.
58 minutes?
Here, Sammy, I need you on my right for reasons. All right. Yeah.
Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for the questions. Thank you for being very respectful. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It was a great interview, great discussion. We're going to get into episode 4 here. This one starts off with Rogue sitting at the table with what's his nuts, Gambit
Magneto?
and Magneto, yes, and Gambit offering her a coffee, and she's like, no thanks, I already got one.
Good.
As Magneto,
They're using
the
their own
alpha-
merch. I just realized that.
I should have asked him what he thought of the
Their own merch.
costume.
yeah, I was surprised you didn't ask.
Just being nice.
Also, a quick shout out to Kayla. She sent a super chat. I didn't want to read because it wasn't a question directed to Matthew. Jean Grey is the best. No one screams Madeline Pryor's name like that. What's up, guys? Thank you, Kayla, so much for the $5 super chat.
Well, that's
Greatly
because
appreciate
you'd
that.
have to read like 60 issues to even know what the hell Madeline Pryor is. To be honest with you.
True.
Oh yeah, Channy's got a point.
Uh, Yeah, leave the muffins in the tin while serving them. Yes. Yeah, let's quickly get through this because there's some parts that we want to definitely dive into. So Gambit talks about offering a coffee to Rogue. Rogue is saying, no, already got one. She takes 3 sugars as Magneto pulls an alpha on her, on Gambit.
This guy gets cucked.
Yeah.
There's no
and-
cucking going on. That is not what cucking is.
No, that's not cucking. Yeah.
If you don't
Come
know
on.
about the
You
previous
can't just throw around the
relationship,
word cuck all the time.
it's
Yeah.
slightly cuckish. It is
It's not.
slightly
It's not even cuckies.
No,
It's cuckish adjacent.
Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Not even close.
Yeah. I'm not getting on another tangent this episode.
Yeah, sorry. All right.
Yeah, Gambit quickly says, like, I'll take a cappuccino if you're taking orders, and then Magneto goes, no. Luckily, I'm giving them. So he's pulling the
Pulling rank. Yeah.
He's pulling rank. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
alpha dog on this.
Big
place.
dick swinging.
Yeah.
No, big dick swicking. And so they're talking about Jubilee's birthday, and she runs in saying she's turned 18 today, and she wants to go to the arcade like old times.
Well,
and
Then she should know better to light fireworks off indoors. By the way,
No, because you can control them.
Yeah. Vaughn.
it's a joke.
I realized as soon as I said that, I was like, why did I
I was like,
respond to
Jesus Christ, man.
Now you're cucking all over the
Yeah.
that's cucking. So we get Magneto basically tells everyone no, they need to focus on training and get into the danger room in case Mr. Sinister should happen to come back. And this upsets Jubilee as she goes into her room and starts venting to Roberto Sunspot. And she's talking to him about how it's her birthday. She's the Big Mac of the day, and and as she's talking to Sunspot here, she sees this Motendo, and I'd even heard of it. She says, I never heard of a Motendo. And then she goes, oh, Rogue said that they had some surprises for us. And so she turns it on, and as she turns it on, these cables and wires come out of the screen.
By the way, it looks like the cover for the Sega game.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of this whole thing here is like a love letter to the 90s games.
I have a question, because it looks like it has the thing on top like the N64, but then when it plays, it seems more like the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, no, Sega Genesis.
Yeah, it's the Sega Genesis games.
Genesis?
That's almost like verbatim the cover.
Oh, never mind.
No worries.
Yes.
I was trying to be
Sega, Vaughn.
I was trying to be cool, like the other fellow '90s kids.
So as they're getting wrapped around by these cables and being pretty much plugged in, we see them reappear in Jubilee's bedroom. And as they're sitting here, a sentinel, they hear heavy footsteps approaching, and then the sentinel smashes through the wall, grabs Sunspot, and Jubilee jumps on it, hanging on, and kind of throws her. Now they're called plasmoids. Yeah. She calls them fireworks, but
I think we all call them fireworks.
Yeah.
She throws the fireworks in the sentinel's face, and he drops the two. They land in downtown, and Roberto's just like, how did we get downtown so fast? So they're in the streets, and as they're sitting there wondering how they got here, they start getting attacked by the sentinel again, and he starts chasing them down. And she throws fireworks again in the sentinel's face and pulls Roberto into the back alley and starts telling him, dude, you got to start using your powers here. And he gets into this fear of, what if there's cameras? I don't want my parents to see me using my mutant powers. So as we see this scene play out, they start getting chased by the friends of the FOH, as we've seen in episode 1. They start running. They see a payphone, which is like a throwback because you never see these things anymore.
And you know what a payphone is, right?
Yes, I know what a payphone is.
I like the glitching effect. And also that was when they get sucked into the video game, that was like your thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing that came into my mind, I was like, the techno-organic virus isn't in this episode, is it?
Yeah, I was thinking that's when the first still I saw of this episode.
And then I saw this, I was like, oh yeah.
I was like,
Matrixy with the phone booth, obviously.
Yeah,
that's good.
And also, another side note, do you guys remember like being at that age where you actually gave a shit what happened on your birthday?
I still
my birthday's this month, and I still give a shit. So fuck you. Yeah,
I never cared.
I
cared
for a long time.
Tangent. So I don't want the teacher to get upset.
Let's get rolling.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I gotta say is I do think Sunspot. I've talked about this before, but it's further than this episode. Dude, he's kind of wimpy in this series.
Man,
I
thought he was very much the bitch, but he sort of is, but not as bad as I thought he was.
But like, because in the comics, he's a Chad, man.
This is not a Chad.
He's got. Yeah, I'm waiting for him.
I'm thinking that's
he's
rich,
change but he's like throwing around stacks. He's like flirting with girls. He's also got temper tantrums, so he's not that much of a Chad. But for a 13-year-old, he's kind of a Chad.
He's supposed to be 13.
He's 13?
No.
Bro, he starts dating the age. He can't be 13 in this.
Yeah, but in this, he was in a bar dancing, dude. He's not 13.
Yeah, there's no way.
They check his ID. You know what I mean?
Otherwise, I gotta clap him on the back. Congratulations, bro. You got the Jubilee. Good for you. He's got
the receipts.
Oh, I was talking about in the comics.
I know.
Yeah. So they
14.
They answer the phone, and then they're taken into Genosha, the primal Genosha, and Jubilee starts talking about how she was there with Storm and Gambit and a bunch of other mutants, how they were trapped there by Oliver Trask, and she's wondering how they got there. And as they're talking about it, they start getting chased away by these guards shooting at them, and as the guards are chasing them, they kind of just all of a sudden collapse and disintegrate. And then we see this mysterious woman standing there taking care of the guards. Jubilee kind of walks over, and she sees that there's a wall a cybernetic wall, and she figures out that they're either in the game, and next thing you know, Mojo appears, and
Never
then
realized her name was on her earrings.
Yes.
Yeah, I always thought it
Just
was the X.
in case someone stole them, she knows they're
Yeah.
hers.
Yeah. And then we see Mojo. He's thinner. She even mentions like you've lost some weight.
Atkins diet.
Yeah.
I wondered why this was. Is this a modern body positivity thing? Because then they show Fat Mojo later on in the thing, or it's just if you could appear any way, why would you appear in a way? That type of thing.
Yeah, I think he was just a vanity thing. He was trying to
weight, Gobi.
Yeah.
The new fashion on Mojo World,
He's chonky.
Yeah. He talks about how his ratings have been down and he's had a horrible third quarter and he's been stressed and he's trying to, he's all based on ratings throughout the worlds and other dimensions. And then he talks about this game is going to be based on Jubilee's memories and
that's
this
right.
game, and it's going to be podcast throughout so he can get the ratings. And he says, like, if you die in the game, you die in real life. But
haven't heard that in anything ever.
Yeah.
Well, they make a joke out of that.
Real.
Yeah, they make a joke out of it.
Still better than Sword Art Online.
Yeah, no, Rick reminded. That's right. So he's emaciated because of the lack of ratings.
Yes. And so then he realized in the game, this little skit here where he talks about the X-Men, and he's saying those aren't the X-Men, the real X-Men, and he says Dazzler was busy, and so Jubilee is the X-Men. And I like that. Who's the boss? And then there's the next one is Divorce Court, Summers and Gray.
And this whole thing reminded me of Running Man.
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah.
Different. Yeah.
Dude,
okay. Cool.
Imagine being the hand me down to Dazzler. Like, man.
Yeah.
Wait till Taylor Swift plays Dazzler, and you're gonna love it.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. So then the game starts, and you see this old style, this arcade style of the X-Men put here, like X-Men Rise of the Jubilee,
which starts out exactly like the arcade.
Yeah.
There's lines pulled exactly from it. The only thing that's missing is Magneto didn't say "Welcome to die."
Yeah.
$400 for a cabinet of one of those arcades. I was looking at it.
One time I almost it was like a night of heavy drinking, and I woke up on eBay and I was at the continue to purchase thing, and I was like, oh my god.
That's why this episode is so oh man, I recognize so much of this from being a kid, and the Sega and the arcades and the Matrix references and the Running Man and bunch of little things.
Oh, I like that pixelated Days of Future Past poster.
I was gonna say,
I promise you,
recognize.
This gave me a lot of nostalgia to when I was also playing on the Sega Genesis.
Yes.
I promise you, if I make really good money on Saturday, I would definitely pick up an Arcade Plus superhero Marvel game, that has
Days of Future.
Someone in the duo screen. I want the whole
Rick Costa.
Small tangent. Go on to Amazon. You can get those mini arcade game. You can get the Pride of the X-Men for like $400.
Get Days of Future Past poster. That's dope. That's a dope reference.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah,
Vaughn, if we ever meet up, I got all that stuff, man. We'll have an afternoon.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Sega.
You'll take me for ice cream after too.
Yeah.
We'll have an afternoon.
What do you grow? Oh, what do you grow up? You're too good for ice cream now.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Ice cream, you bigots.
So this is stage one. This is stage one, Dystopian Street. Jubilee and Roberto start, you see the Days of Future Past here, and then we get into the battle with Jubilee, and it's kind of funny because there's 3 Sentinels that arrive, and it's exactly like the video game arcade game. You see Roberto just kind of not wanting to do this, and she starts taking out all the Sentinels, and then they right away they get put into stage 2, the Savage Land. This is where they're fighting right here, Savage Land, and this is where they're fighting all the dinosaurs and pterodactyl people, or mutants. Jubilee actually gets bit by one of the main bosses in this stage, the pterodactyl, and she starts to lose health. She loses half her health. And
pterodactyl, that's Sauron.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Sauron, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sauron, but I just call him pterodactyl. I didn't.
Kyle Lyko.
Very something of you, speciesist. I don't know.
Yes.
No, it's not species of. It's fake fanist.
So it is Sauron. I just call him a pterodactyl.
Sauron.
Oh yeah, this is.
We have 199 people watching. I appreciate all you people. Please hit
199. Shout out.
Oh yeah, the Marvel vs. Capcom
199,
collection going to be dropping. I'll be picking that up too.
So yeah, she gets bit and she loses half her health and she's injured, and the game gets interrupted. It gets hacked by a mysterious person, and Jubilee gets her health back right away, and then you see what's his name there, Mojo, starts screaming at Spiral to fix the game, and she makes a comment, well, you take out the IT team, this is what happens. And then they go to the final stage of the game here, so we think Asteroid M, and then we see Roberto.
3 levels this whole game. What a
well in this game,
yeah, but what Vaughn doesn't realize is that the games that we played, no one ever got beyond the second frickin'. Tell me anyone that you knew that got beyond Aladdin or Lion King.
Yeah, no, they were designed that way.
Yeah.
And then we see Roberto and Jubilee have a conversation, and how he talks about, he would pretend that he hated mutants, and he kind of mentioned it that he hated mutants because his mom was freaked out by them because he saw it on TV. And then Roberto starts talking to Jubilee about how none of this is real. Sooner or later, you got to grow up, or reality will. And then just as he starts saying that to Jubilee, because she's enjoying this, she's loving being inside the video game, he gets thrown across the room and smacked against the window, and it's none other than Magneto, facing off against Jubilee here. And so she starts fighting Magneto, and she starts recognizing the patterns, the cycle that the final boss has here, and she takes out Magneto by firing her plasmoids at him. And as he falls down, she runs over to Roberto, and as she's comforting Roberto, she sees a extra life, and so she grabs the extra life, gives it to Roberto, and he comes back because he was actually dying. It said game over. And this irritates Mojo. He's upset. And so he wants to have Magneto come back and take them out. And Magneto does come back and floats up in the air. And as he's doing that, a hand comes through a portal, grabs the two, and pulls them out through the ceiling there, and they're gone. And they're now placed into, I think, the server room that's hidden from the broadcast
mainframe.
The mainframe.
They're in Tron now.
Yeah, the broadcast servers are it's in the mainframe, and it's hacked by this mysterious person, and we find out this mysterious person is actually an older version of Jubilee. And
I thought that was because that costume was so specific. I was like, oh, that must be a 90s character because it looks like one. And then
but it's not. It's just there's just a formula,
Yeah.
I just want to kind of quickly get to the chat. Mention that
Hypnotic. Look, a wild gay has appeared, saying hi to my mom. Said hi to you first, to be fair.
What's up there, Hypnotic? Thanks for joining us, brother. I appreciate it. And then we have some comics here. Love the arcade, video game callbacks, tropes of the industry by Mojo, etc. Yeah. Mojo's voice is so irritating. LOL. Well, I think that's intentional. So yeah, we're at 206 people watching. Thank you, everyone. Please hit that like button, subscribe, not only to me but everyone here, and leave a comment after. That'd be greatly appreciated. Yeah. And so this older Jubilee starts talking to the younger Jubilee, and she starts telling. I know a part of you wants to hang here. It's nice knowing how every stage ends. No surprises, no twists. It always stays the same. That's not living. You got to take risks and start living your life. And so, because Jubilee is still into that, I think, young teen stage, like wanting to live the life of a young child. And now that she's turning 18, she's got to mature and start living and taking risks and actually getting out there and making mistakes and learning from them.
There's actually an Adventure Time episode that's very similar to this.
I know which one you're talking about. Yes. And so as they're talking, Mojo enters the room. He finds them and he kind of crawls out through this. Oh man, I love that.
Oh, I know, right?
I mean, there you go.
Yes, it's a 4-person arcade game.
It's worth 500. It's worth it.
I say so.
Yeah.
So it's either that or the Twilight Zone pinball machine. I can't.
Ooh. See, I would want that in the Simpsons, but this one, X-Men is pretty classic.
That would be the cab I would pick for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Wolverine in the background.
So this is the final boss. It's Mojo versus the two Jubilees and Sunspot. I love hearing the Canucks, Jay. Thanks, Danny.
Fun fact about Longshot, actually, when I was talking to Anna Sensi, she said that like she just kind of said like, "Oh, there's gonna be this." You should describe these characters as spineless. And Art Adams was like, "What if they were literally spineless?" And so that's why they look the way they are. But yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she told me that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So anyway.
So yeah, we see the older Jubilee taking out Mojo at the legs and skating around, and Jubilee's just like, "Oh, cool! I didn't know we could do that with some of the powers that she's demonstrating." And then Mojo kind of takes her out and kind of trips her up. And then as he's going to take out the older Jubilee, Sunspot finally uses his power and takes out the one arm. And then these two get together and actually combined to take out Mojo completely by using their
power of one.
Yes.
Power of two.
Power of many.
Sorry. See what they've done to us?
Yes.
What is happening?
Sontag in his best Batman voice.
Yeah. So they return to the room and we see that they've accomplished beating Mojo, and they talk about taking risks, and then it's Jubilee that takes the risk and kisses Roberto.
Shocked me.
Why did it shock?
Why was shocking?
Oh, I thought for sure. No. I thought for sure that of all the characters, the way they were going to go, Sunspot was going to be the gay, they, them. And to have him be a heteronormative that ends up being in a relationship with Jubilee, never thought that they would do that.
I actually appreciated that. Yes, I'm on board with that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it was great.
This is an interesting couple.
Too. Yeah, it makes sense. She basically already went through the storyline he's going through. Coming up to her parents about powers, being chased, accepting it, now having fun with it. He's still at the beginning. She can help him. And yeah, they have a little bit of a thing going on. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a good surprise, not a bad surprise. Good surprise.
Yeah.
Just didn't think they'd go that route. A traditional storytelling type thing. Very nice. Very.
Okay, now we're going to get into, I think, the heavy part of the show now. Life, death
part.
Yes.
The best part. Yes. Storm and Forge. So like we're where's this located? I don't even know where it's located because Forge is like out west in, like, I want to say Montana or something like that. And they're in a cabin and he's making dinner for Storm. And as he's making dinner, he talks about she asks him about his arm, and he says, "I was a soldier and there was a war." And basically she gets the gist of it right there. And as they're talking about it, he's like, "Let's go for a ride." And so they start horseback riding after this like pleasant conversation in the dining room. So next thing you know, we see them out riding horses, and he starts calling her out like, "I thought you were goddess." And Storm's like,
love his voice, by the way, like it's so smoky and like
rich mahogany leather.
Yes, exactly.
It's very nice. Yeah.
I also want to say it's ballsy, the transition they do.
Forges, yeah.
It was interesting because I didn't know anything about this episode. I didn't see anything about this episode on Twitter, and then to have a transition to Life, Death Part 1 is such an interesting. It like ends 10 minutes early. But yeah.
Another thing, and you guys are, you're well versed in the comics, Vaughn. I've never understood Forge's power. I know he can build anything. Yes. How is that a mutant power?
So that's because I wondered too until I read the comics. So he's basically really like super smart, but it's more than that. It's like he can
he's like
it's like his brain just gets that like these things kind of just get together. He's like, okay, I just need this to get there. It's like his brain kind of bypasses like the almost like you have to test it multiple times. It's like he just knows what he needs.
So superpower is engineering.
No, yeah. Forge has the power to get into parts of the brain that's dormant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and he mentions that when they're having dinner, and yes, he talks about his dad's chili. It's bison chili, and it has room for spices to work their magic. He mentions that at the table, and then
is that part of the lore too?
No, he just mentioned. I know Rick Costa mentioned that. So we're kind of just getting through this because we already had like an hour with Matthew.
Yeah.
And so, this part he's kind of pushing Storm like to get her confidence back with the horseback riding, and kind of calling her out. And then she gets like she's competitive, and so she sees that he's ahead and he's enjoying the moment of being ahead. And then she's like, "All right, let's do this." And so she starts pushing the horse, and as she does that, she almost goes off the cliff, off the edge here. And Forge kind of pulls up, and he's like, just mentions the goddess lives. Beautiful, isn't it? And she's just like taking it all in. And then she mentions the owl and how the owl soars through the skies with the eastern winds, all in the same pattern all the time. When she had her mutant powers, she had the ability to feel that, where she just doesn't feel that anymore. She just knows. And and so we get to the next scene here where Forge is in the basement working, and he talks about putting Storm into this chamber to kind of bring her powers out. And it's a discussion about reversing what the executioner did. The power differential chamber, where he's like it just kind of shunted her powers. It didn't eliminate them all completely. It just kind of hid them, and we got to bring them back out. And so he asks her to go in the chamber and believe in what he's doing. And then she's like asking, why is it so important for you to fix me? And he just confesses that he's built devices. This part right here, her powers are non-existent still, and it didn't take. And then she's returns to the basement, and this is where she says, why is fixing me so important to you? And Forge confesses he built the devices to neutralize dangerous mutants, that the U.S. government provided him the ability to make all these things that he had in his brain, and that he didn't have the money to do that. And in order to do that, he had to do these other devices for the government.
What I'm confused about is you guys told me, you were like, oh yeah, that's not in the show.
What?
Yeah, he created the weapon. You guys told me that on there. And I was like, oh, okay.
Did we?
Yes.
Did we?
You lied to
me.
I don't remember saying that.
Go back to episode 2. You guys lied.
You're young. I think your memory
you
is...
go back. Don't do that to us again. You go back and prove it.
Yeah.
Besides, chat's not even paying attention. They're talking about the fact that I said mahogany instead of Corinthian leather.
Yeah.
It's a porn star name now. Mahogany leather.
All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to call you a liar. Please continue.
Jay Goodwin.
No worries.
No, I was paying attention.
So he loves Storm, basically.
Oh yeah. I
just
did like. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, you pay attention, just like Bo mentioned tonight, when he was on, how they weren't allowed to use the references, but you're like, he did. So yeah,
I must have forgotten some things. You told me.
You lied to me. If the glove don't fit,
you must have quit. Yeah.
I'm
being acquitted of whatever.
And he learned that when he grew up in the 90s.
Yeah. I grew up in 1999. That's when I was born.
Disavow.
So this is a part where Forge, confesses everything to her, and he says, like, you are a goddess, powers to be damned. How do you not see that? And she's upset that he created these devices for the government, and actually, and then slaps him as he's confessing his love for her, and then walks away and walks up the stairs. And
I think we can all relate.
Yeah. And then she's horseback riding again during the storm. And as she's horseback riding, these like demonic eyes kind of flash in front of her.
Relatable.
Right here, yeah.
Relatable.
And
As one would.
she gets swallowed up and falls right through the roof onto the cabin floor. And she doesn't understand what happened, and she thinks it's all a dream. And Forge, goes to rescue her and comfort her, and he just mentions, like, she says that she was riding a horse, and she sees the owl in her dreams. And as she's mentioning that, the owl demon approaches into the room. And
this
Forge
was such a sick part.
Yeah,
it was so good.
This is an improvement over the source material too. In my opinion.
Yes. This is kind of like Capullo looking, this owl. I got the vibe of Capullo when looking at this owl. And so the owl demon comes out, and actually Forge steps in front because Aurora doesn't have her powers anymore. And he gets bit, and you see the purple veins get through his body. The owl just tosses him, throws him against the wall, and then the owl grabs Aurora and then starts talking about, she's mentioned, is this death? And the owl says to Storm, you live, disappointed, trapped here, haunted, suffering, despairing. I feast on misery, and I, the adversary, shall not waste my meal. And that's basically how the episode ends.
Such awesome. Yeah. I mean, can I just say that I was not a fan of this episode. When we get to the ratings, I'll put it out there, but the last 10 minutes of this show made this episode worth it, because I was not a big fan of the whole Mojo thing. Like, it's just, I for some reason I tuned out. It wasn't up to par. But when you got to the story with Storm and Forge and this entity, this is where it picked up again. And I'm like, man, the element of horror that they're putting into the show early on with episode 3 and episode 4, they really kind of leaned into some of these horror aspects of the show. And then obviously when we wrap up the Storm storyline, that's when it was just like, I'm like, I love what they're doing with the show, because I didn't know what to expect, right? Like, every time a new episode came out, it was almost like raising the expectations of what this show was going to be. And then we get to next week as well, which just, shoots through the roof. So yeah, this made it worth it watching this episode. Otherwise, the first 15 minutes you can keep.
I will say also, they pulled so they said life death, and you see life death, but also with the Vision Quest thing, they pulled heavily from Fall of the Mutants down to the adversary. And this is one thing where they improved, because the adversary, let's be honest, Fall of the Mutants is one of my favorite X-Men storylines, but he's not that memorable of a villain, right? So the adversary is like is like a Native American god of mischief, and in the comics, he's just kind of like a guy with like. But like this, they made him a monster, and I was like, "No, that's not the adversary." And then
actually, can you show that again, Gooch? Can you zoom in?
Enhance.
So you see, he's kind of just this guy in this garb right here.
Oh, really? That's him, or that's the character? Oh, okay.
So then they made him this bird
costume.
Yeah, but then they made him like this creature, and I'm like nightmare fuel.
Well,
and
good call.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was worth seeing the.
This is the book. This is the book you want for.
There you go.
The second part. This is Life Death Part 1 with Forge and Storm.
But then the whole adversary thing is from after Life Death. They join back. She follows this guy who's supposedly Forge's mentor, and then he's like, I'm actually the adversary.
How'd that go?
He goes, ha ha ha.
I gotta say though, to all the people that's listening to us, definitely read Life Death, because Barry Windsor Smith's work in that book was just breathtaking.
Yeah, at least look at the pretty pictures.
And then Silvestri drew that last bit I showed, the Fall of the Mutant stuff.
Yeah, the goat.
Yeah, we got 205 people sticking around, so that's great.
These 205 people are gonna love this.
Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Again, hit that like, leave a comment after. I'd be greatly appreciated.
Smash that like button
and subscribe to all these guys and my channel if you want. It'd be greatly appreciated. We kind of zoomed through that episode. but we had an awesome evening. We got to talk to Mathew Waterson. And
You caught me off guard.
And you never know who else might pop in the channel. Just
yeah.
wink, wink.
Keep an eye on this show and the channel.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, you always have said it. Like, how the hell do you get these people to come on?
Yeah, dude, it's impressive, man.
Yeah,
you got the touch.
That's how we got them on. He's got the touch.
He's got the touch.
The touch.
I almost sang Mark Wahlberg from Boogie Nights. You got the touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I know that reference?
Yeah,
because it's a good film.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's that song he sang. He thought it was gold. It was gold. He thought it was great. They were just doing too much cocaine, and they thought they had this song.
Thing is too much. I mean, just throwing it out there.
My grandma and her friend went to go see Boogie Nights.
I think
it was
John
a
Belushi would beg to differ, but yeah.
yeah, that's probably.
What was that there, Badger?
That my grandma and her friend went to see Boogie Nights thinking it was a rollerblading movie.
Yeah. The last scene was
was.
probably very interesting for them.
Yeah, it's fun.
There's rollerblades in it.
Sure is. Shout out Rollerblade Girl. Heather Graham.
Oh, Heather Graham.
Yes. When are you doing that one, Gooch? Can I sign up for Boogie Night conversation? You can do that on YouTube. That's a Rumble exclusive.
Yeah. So
Jay, let's go frame by frame with Boogie Nights.
Getting the reviews in. Joe, you want to start off?
Real fap.
All right, this is probably going to be my lowest rating for an episode in this series, and I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, I'm not a huge fan of Jubilee. I'm not a huge fan of the way Sunspot is in the series specifically, and having the majority of the episode centered around them. The Mojo thing was okay. Don't get me wrong. I like Mojo, some cool cameos. It was an interesting, trip through the arcadey kind of game and different sets and like all this kind of Easter eggs and whatnot. But I was just like, I found myself not invested in the show, or I was almost kind of bored in that part. But then you switch on a dime and go into the Storm storyline, and it was like, boom, right back invested into it. I was like, this is what I came here for. And that made up for the rest of the show. So yeah, it's gonna be the lowest you're gonna hear me say. I'm gonna say 6.5. I still enjoyed the episode, but if I was to watch it again, I'd just skip the first 15 minutes or so and go right to Storm's story and rock and roll. Otherwise, yeah, I'm ready to get on to 5. That's what I'm excited about.
YSA, I think you might want to watch from the beginning because we had a special guest in the beginning.
Yeah, go back, brother. Check it out.
Yeah. Badger, what were your thoughts and what would you rate this episode?
I was like the same of what he said, but the reverse. It was like I was fine with the Storm, and I actually liked the first one, but that's because I liked Jubilee as a kid. I had a crush on Jubilee when I was a kid, so it's like, it's nice that she had her little glow. The first comic I ever had was DC versus Marvel, and it was Jubilee was dating Tim Drake, who was straight at the time, Robin, and so it's like I always liked Jubilee, and I was like, they never used her in the movies, so it's nice to see her get her due. Anyway. 7 out, but like I also agree that it's not their strongest episode. So a 7 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it. It was just like that was an episode type of thing. Passable, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Sammy, your general thoughts and rating of this episode tonight?
I'm gonna agree with Zontag here. I like it, it's great. I think it's the weakest episode. I like those things. I loved the love letter to the video games. I've never been a huge Jubilee thing. The most interesting thing for me, Jubilee wise, was there was that point in time when she was a vampire in the comics. I liked that.
She still is.
She was a vampire.
Oh, she still is.
Yeah, she's a vampire.
Is that like the Blade Morbius type vampires?
I'm not even completely sure on that, but I know she's still
in Krakoa. I don't think she was a vampire.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought that got changed after. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Another tangent. I like that she was I do like that. I like what Vaughn was saying about the adversary, and that's why I wanted him to puff it up. I did like the design change. This giant kind of looks like the great owl in Secrets of Nim.
Yeah, wise.
The old owl that doesn't skip leg day. Loved that. But Yeah, no, and I like the whole back and forth thing with her and Forge. I really, really enjoyed. He keeps calling her a goddess, but she's like a fallen goddess. She's talking about like, what she was saying about how the owls fly on the wind and how she can't feel certain things anymore that like no regular human being could imagine feeling these things. And it was like, the depression of having a gift like that and have it being taken away from you, I thought was, it just like in the comic, it's very powerful. It's something that you would, it's one of those things you don't know what you got till it's gone, and it was like, and you see that that resonates with her. So like that whole thing with her on the horseback, you kind of see like this hurt character trying to find themselves, and I thought that was good. But all in all, to make that a half and half thing and sign it up with a Jubilee Mojo episode, it just kind of took me out of it. So,
Jamalama, I agree
what
with
was your
you.
rating?
Yeah,
same as Joe, or 6.5. Sammy, what's your rating?
Oh, I said 6.5.
Oh, the same 6.5. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Question from Mick Floyd here. Do we think this will spend off into a Gen X cartoon?
I hope so.
That would be cool. I'd be down with that.
I haven't read Generation X because I haven't gotten there yet, but it's Bo.
I think it's more likely we'll get a Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
I would like to see an X-Force if like
New Mutants.
Oh, if you're dreaming, if we're saying like fantasy wise, I'd love to see an X Factor, an X-Force. I mean, the teams. That would be the shit, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, and then have like
X teams and have a big crossover. Yes. Yeah.
New Mutants. Show love for the New Mutants. They're cool.
New Mutants. That's. I mean, if you have X Force, you don't need New Mutants.
No, that's
just saying.
Cringe. This goes back to my. All right, I'll get into this.
Hey, Vaughn.
Yeah, we'll have to get into it on Twitter more.
But yeah, exactly. But hang on, can I?
That was hilarious.
Okay, talk about the show first, and then yes, we're gonna promote your book.
No. I said no. It's related to the show. Something about.
Okay.
Really, just real quick. So the first appearance, if you look at Uncanny X-Men 188, the first appearance of the Adversary, you'll notice something interesting about this cover. For some reason, John Romita Jr. draws a circle around everyone's genitals, and I don't know why. But if you look at that,
yes,
there's a circle around everyone for literally no reason. There's no story-based reason.
Symbolism.
Clearly, there is a story.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out. Anyway. So my thoughts on the episode.
Great moment, Vaughn. Great moment. Anyway, talk about what you thought of this.
This is the hard-hitting reasons I'm gonna watch it.
This is a weird time for me because I was like literally like I was about to launch, so I was watching this episode last second. I didn't get to really sit down and enjoy, but I did feel like this is the first one where I don't want to say filler, but it was the first episode where I was like, this isn't like essential, but it's fine because I was like, oh, but the X-Men are having fun because the X-Men have always had those stories. And what I appreciate about this story is this is one you could only really do in the film medium, where you could tell this was a love letter to video games, and it was something like it's like, oh, TV's not making as much, let's do video games. It felt like a very much a passion project, and it's like, okay, if I were to do something fun, she's a hashtag gamer girl, so let's make the gamer episode about her. So that makes sense. You know what would have been cool is doing something with arcade. But anyway, hopefully
I digress.
For season. But I would say that the ending 10 minutes episode was a very creative episode. But I'd give it a 6.5. I think you guys are on point with that. I'm kind of in agreement where it was enjoyable, but I didn't really care about the stakes. I wasn't like I was, the other episodes. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening to Madeline? I'm like, they're not going to be a video game. It was a fun episode, but it wasn't anything that I'm going to remember forever. So it was good.
Zach, do you want to discuss this now, or do you want me to come back?
Yeah.
To you?
No, I'm done. I'm like, the drawing's done. Okay. So for me, I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, in shows, you're going to have the one episode where it's not a bad episode. And it's just one of those where you just got to, sit back and just enjoy it because it's kind of a standalone type of thing. So I rate it I give it like a 7.5, 8. because I really love Mojo as a villain for the X-Men. And so seeing him, I got really excited. And I thought the voice actor fucking killed it. For it. He just really nailed the character. And even adding the twist, making him skinny and then fat, like, because of the ratings. Cool thing. Again, Bo fucking knocks it out of the park with the writing. He takes stuff from the source material, then he goes ahead and just decides to twist it just a little bit and then still be faithful. And adds a new spin where people like us can go ahead and enjoy that and that have read the source material. We know the both ends and it's still just as good. So I give it a 7.5, like 8. And I finished the drawing, so I really wished, Magneto was here to fucking see this, man.
Yes.
Oh, damn.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Wow, you got that shading done in really quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, you were getting damn quick. I gotta say, for tight, clean lines, pretty fucking quick, dude.
Yeah, Mojo looks super filled in. That looks really nice.
Yeah,
dude. I knew exactly what I wanted to do for this episode, and Mojo is the shit.
And don't take this the wrong way. You got his weird flabby nipples perfectly.
What would be the wrong
I really hope that the people in the chat room really enjoed this one. I had a lot of fun.
Well, we got 200.
What was your reference material?
So. Shout out
for the nipples.
Yeah.
He used his own.
You know how in the chat he asked us pictures from head to toe.
Right. I thought
everybody in the chat room, I have an auction with Jay on his show.
I'm gonna bring that up.
Never mind. Then I'll shut up.
Yeah. As for me, I thought this episode was a lot of nostalgia. I thought it was cool. I really liked the life-death portion of the episode because I like Aurora and I like the relationship between her and Forge, how it's kind of like back and forth as the truth starts to be revealed. The Jubilee episode or a portion of this episode is I'm thinking that he took Kitty Pryde and put Jubilee in that spot because that was I got more of a Kitty Pryde out of that because she struggled a lot with being the youngest on the team and constantly was fighting for her spot and complaining about not doing enough to be contributing to a lot of the action that's happening with the X-Men. So and we know Bo said that that he put Jubilee in there because of he liked her better. But as for everything else that's going on, I would rate this one probably 6.5, 7, somewhere in there. It's not a bad episode. It's just not. We're so used to these peak episodes like the
spoiled.
Spoiled, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's this one's kind of felt like a filler, but it wasn't. So
yeah.
Let's quickly go around the horn because we're coming up to 2 hours here. It's getting late. I know some of you guys got to work in the morning. Go around the horn and talk about what we got coming up. So Sam, what do you got coming up there, bud?
Nothing. Got the holiday coming up. I'll be back Thursday for Demon Slayer. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to make Into the Spider-Verse. Breaks my heart. But I after that I got my Sunday stream with Nadia talking House of the Dragon, and after that next week's just gonna start to be business as usual. I'll be on the animation block, Roman show for the Acolyte, and then House of the Dragon, and that's about it. And still working on the Batman video, but if you haven't gone to my channel, please check out my I just did one on the Superman Fleischer cartoons. I also got a live album on there. Just give it a look, give it a listen. If you like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. But otherwise, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Vaughn, what do you got going on, bro?
Yeah, so right before this, I just launched my final variant cover is on my campaign now on Fund My Comic, and also my campaign is available. Do you want me to share?
Yeah, what's the name of the book?
So the name of my book is Phenomenova. And if you're a big X-Men fan, you're going to want to check this book out. Hold on, let me pull it up, the tab here. And basically, this book is going to be, it's almost done. We're like 4 pages away from it being colored. Then it's almost done being lettered. We just got a new back cover in, which I haven't added to the campaign yet. But we got all sorts of awesomeness. You can get it on Kickstarter as well. It's on everything. We got about a month left, but here is my latest cover. It's going to be colored soon. So check out this bad boy. Every cover has been just top notch, and the interiors are great too. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. Yeah,
like they really do. You got a fantastic looking book, man.
I know. I'm very happy.
Be proud of it. Definitely.
I am. And issue 2 is going to start, but the better this does, the more I can focus on issue 2. But issue 1 is here. And after this stream, I'm going to be carrying on the party on my channel, which is just my name, Vaughn Coleman. Everyone from panel is welcome to come on. So yeah, I'll carry the party over. I'll carry the burden. But thank you guys. Make sure to back this comic if you're interested on the platform of your choice. If you back it on Fund My Comic, though, you will be able to get a mini print for free by our boy Zack here. So make sure you do that.
Thank you.
I know Zack, I bought mine.
I'm going to come back to you. Badger, what do you got coming up this week there, Badger?
Stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on my channel. It's BadgerCast, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on Nerd Wars. If you follow us, you'll get the releases. And then every Monday, I read super chats on Versus for Mr. Chris Gore and Alan Ng. So that's fun. Yeah. And then every Friday night inside the Badger Den. So yeah, just follow me on the twats.
And Mama Badger is the mod for the channel.
She's out there. She's the emissary. She's in more streams than I am.
I appreciate it
on
Mama
everyone's
Badger.
channel.
Yeah, go check out Badger's channel. It's fantastic.
She's making deals, bro.
Yeah,
I'm not fighting it.
I encourage you to go check out Badger's channel. I also encourage you to go check out this man right here, Mr. Joe M. Soundtag, my buddy, my brother. What do you got coming up there, Joe?
Well, nothing through the rest of the week because we're taking the 4th off. You know, we're gonna have a great weekend. Got the family coming over, but we will be back Monday night for the comic block starting at 9 p.m. with a Spawn review with our very own the Gooch over there joining us as one of our co-hosts. We're actually going to start looking at the HBO series, starting with episode 1 of Spawn and going over that, and then we're gonna have Appreciating Comic Book Art live with the second comic block or the second part of the comic block at 10:15, and then Art and Stuff at Thursday at 10. All right, gotta keep it all straight next week. But yes, I do have a book called Reaper Destroyer that's on Indiegogo right now. I'm actually, while we were doing the show, I was dipping out every once in a while. I'm trying to get files ready for print to make sure I can get it exactly like the printer wants it. So I'm sending stuff off, and hopefully I'll get the a proof here pretty soon in the next couple weeks. And then get to actually printing this book and getting it out to everybody. Still waiting on the letters for the supplemental book, but this thing looks great. It looks awesome. I can't wait for you guys to read it. I'm very, very super proud of the work that everybody on this book has put into it. And I think you guys are gonna be surprised. So look for it for the next couple months, or in the next couple months.
I usually don't buy variant covers, and you're one of the few ones. I can't remember whose it was that I bought, but that's
I think you got the Keown cover.
I did. Yeah. Yep. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you, brother.
And I've said this before. I've read a lot of comics, and this is, I said it on the Spawn channel. Joe has like incredible writing. He's like, I didn't expect this. It's paced out beautifully. It's incredible. I'm really excited for him. I can't wait for people to get their copies. This is going to be one of those book people are going to be like, damn, I should have got it on Indiegogo, because it's amazing. It truly is amazing book. So get your copy while you can. So thank you for coming on, you guys. I appreciate all you jumping on. I hope you had fun tonight talking with Mathew Waterson.
Thank you for having me.
How could you not?
Yeah,
it was an awesome show. That was a fun interview.
Matt looked like he would have stayed on had we not said anything. He seemed like he enjoyed himself. So hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, they not scared him.
That's how you lure him in. You just give him the time block, and then you say, "Oh, you can come back," and they usually do. So, As for
Vaughn
me,
froze. I agree with Vaughn.
Buddy,
Vaughn's correct.
Well, that's a shame. That's
that point that Vaughn made is really, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look how
what's that,
intensely
Vaughn?
he's staring.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna lie, it looks like a kid from Twilight right there.
So
he can't even defend himself.
So I'm only kidding. So no, I'm not. But anyway, as for me on Diabolical Presents, tomorrow night we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I got quite the panel for that, so come check us out tomorrow night, 8:00 Eastern. We got Movie Cynic. I got Vex. I have Zack will be there. Actually, Andrew, AJ is going to be part of there. We got a great panel that's going to be part of that.
House.
Yeah, we got a full house for that one,
dude. They were cooking in the chat today too.
Yeah, and then the rest of the week I'm going to be off because it's July 4th, and I want everyone to celebrate that and do their thing, or Independence Day, whatever you want to call it. I'm Canadian, I don't care. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of the week. I got things planned for next week. Saturday, though, Zack and I are going to be doing an auction at 1:00 Eastern. Yeah, 1:00 Eastern. Let me just pull it up here and share it. Share screen. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we're going to be doing this on Saturday. All the pieces that Zack has done for the show, all the characters from like Arcane, from Scavenger's Reign, from XMen, from I'm trying to think who else did we have in there. Cyberpunk, Akira, Secret of Nim, Heavy Metal, Ghost in the Shell, Demon Slayer. All these pieces are up for auction. So come by Saturday, bid on the piece that you want, and all the proceeds will be going to help Zack get lists for his shoes. And you know what? I'm kidding. He's not getting lists for his shoes. But yeah, yeah, he's done a lot of hard work, and it'd be really cool if people can show up and buy a piece from him. So yeah, we're going to be doing that Saturday, 1:00 Eastern. Join us for that. I'll be on Saturday Night Hypnosis Saturday night. And then on Monday, I will be doing, I will have a animator on 2:00 Eastern. This gentleman here, let me just bring it up here. He's done Conan the Cimmerian, an animation. It's a fan tribute. Absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen it, go check out Alan Sagan on YouTube. He's an animator and has a few little mini stories out there. Incredible work. He's going to be on Monday. We're going to talk about how he does his animation style. I've got a few other little stokes in the fire with other animators. Some big names, some little names. I'm going to be doing during the day. I'm going to be talking about animation throughout the day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, probably around 12 noonish, and just reviewing him, talking about him, and seeing if the creators actually come on and talk about it. So come join me during the day. And then Monday, I'll be on Joe's channel talking about Spawn. It was awesome last Monday talking about the episode or comic book 354.
Yes,
we really dove deep into that. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed
that was a good episode. Yep,
it was. And then so Monday I'll be on Joe's again, and then these guys will be back next Tuesday. We'll do episode 5, and who knows who'll be on that show next week. So just
tune in to find out.
Yeah, got to tune in.
Don't let Vaughn lie to you. Very suspect evidence.
Yes.
Very suspect.
Don't listen to Vaughn.
Don't think he passes muster, but that's just me.
He's got an awesome comic book. Go back it.
Don't
listen to
your
Vaughn
own comic book, son.
Don't believe a word he says.
Yeah,
because keep in mind, this comic book is fiction.
Yeah. He's a known liar. He made it all up.
I do want to do a huge shout out to Scooby Puck 01 for the $100 super chats tonight. Shani for being a member. Thank you so much. Zaxx, Nadia, I hope you're able to sleep now. Probably not. And then Kayla with the super chat. Thank you all for the super chats. Everyone in the chat, you guys rock. I appreciate every one of you, and everyone that watches the replay. Thank you so much. Again, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like, leave a comment, and hit that little notification bell so you can get notified when the channel comes up, and subscribe to these guys over here because they put a lot of work into their channels as well. It'd be greatly appreciated. Yes,
like 50 away, I think. So shout out.
Absolutely.
I
let's
might
get
break
Joe.
100.
Let's get Joe to 3. Let's start pushing Joe. Let's get him going.
Let's rock.
If you haven't subscribed to Sammy, the man has the voice of an angel. He's got a Superman thing coming out. I'm telling you.
Great.
Him all the subs.
It was a great review. It was a great review. Go check that out. Just
Fletcher.
go subscribe to these guys' channel. Thank you so much to everyone. I hope everyone has a great July 4th Independence Day. Everyone, please be safe. I'll see you tomorrow night. And take care. Peace, everyone.
Bye.